What if you had the smartest Wi-Fi? If you did, it'd be Xfinity and it'd come with their best state-of-the-art equipment. It would boost speeds to the devices that needed them most, whether you were streaming, gaming, or gaming while pretending to work. It would even power your mobile connection so you could bring faster, secure Wi-Fi speeds with you where you use it most. If you had the smartest Wi-Fi, everything would work together seamlessly to keep you connected. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Jayhawker Podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Xfinity. Get the smartest Wi-Fi only from Xfinity. Imagine that. And by the University of Kansas Health System. My name is Nate Bucati, and I'm joined by a good buddy of mine. We go way back, decades ago even, to the days of doing Kansas women's basketball together, and even before that, the voice of the Kansas Jayhawks, Brian Hanni. What's up, Brian? How are you, man?
Great to see you, buddy. How are you?
You're, well, I'm not as busy as you are these days. I mean, you're flying from North Carolina on a Friday night all the way across the country to Tucson, Arizona for a football game. Then I see you at a charity event in Kansas City with Bill Brandmeier on Sunday. I'm not sure when you actually set foot in your own dwelling these days, but you're a busy man right now. This is a busy time of year, isn't it?
It is, and you always hear about crossover season in November when the sports overlap. I love it, especially when you're at a place like Kansas. I mean, how blessed are we? You know, we're going from the Dean Dome in Chapel Hill to in a couple of weeks we'll be at Madison Square Garden, the Players Era Tournament in Las Vegas, some of the best collection of college basketball talent on display out there. And all the while, Lance Leipold's football program is on the doorstep of bowl eligibility. So, yeah, it's a little less sleep. It's a lot fewer nights in your own bed. But November, to me, is one of the peak times of the year because it's all high-level stuff in big-time venues against great competition.
And across the board at Kansas Athletics, we're going to get into some of the other things because volleyball's cruising right now, ranked in the top 15 in the country. The Kansas soccer team is getting ready to host a first-round playoff match as a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament there. And the women's basketball team got some star power right now, and they're getting ready to play a big game against Missouri in Kansas City. We'll touch on all those things, but let's begin with the first 2 programs that you mentioned, the ones that you're flying around to see. Football team on the doorstep of eligibility. Man, there have been some heartbreakers this year, and the one in Tucson certainly is one of those. But, man, every match, every game that they play is one you feel like they've got a real opportunity to win. I guess that makes it that much more painful when it doesn't go the way that you want it to, right? But they still got 2 big games coming up to try to get that bowl eligibility.
They absolutely do. And, you know, when you think about how far we've come to be at a place now where every week you expect to win, and when you lose in the final minute, it breaks your heart because you really thought it was your day. I remember my first year, this is year 10, and we were down 42-0 at Baylor at the half. And we were circling up the broadcasters up in the press box, making a plan for the 3rd and 4th quarters to try to create some compelling, engaging, entertaining radio. And I told them the Tom Hedrick story. He's both of our mentors, former sports play-by-play mentor and coach here, professor on the Kansas campus. And he gave us the line, the game can be bad, but you can't be. And we were hunting for compelling storylines in that second half. And I don't bring that up to talk about bad stuff from just 10 years ago, but to say that Lance Leipold has changed the trajectory immediately. He's changed the expectations exponentially. And so, yeah, it is disappointing when we can't get it done. But the fact that we're in the hunt for what would be a 3rd bowl game in his 5 seasons, and the fact that every Saturday we show up with the expectation that not only can we win, we feel like we should win. That is such a huge shift from where we were at 6-7 years ago, where you probably circled a couple of games on the schedule where you felt like you had a good shot, and the rest you just weren't sure what you were going to see. So come a long ways, and I certainly am excited about these last 2 opportunities. They've won 3 in a row versus Iowa State in that series. I think prior to that, Cyclones had won 11 of 12 against us, so Lance has really flipped the card in that rivalry. And then, of course, Senior Day, Black Friday, 11 a.m., national TV game with Utah, who's a top 25 team that's going to come in here with a full head of steam. But we got to send these seniors like Jalen Daniels and Daniel Highshaw that have been here for 5 and 6 seasons out in style. And hopefully at that point we're talking about them already bowl eligible, going for a 7th win. But regardless, really would love to see these guys treated to another month. And it's especially important for the younger players in your program to get those additional 3 or 4 weeks of bowl practices. When you're stacking good days and stacking good weeks and months together, that additional month of December is so critical. We saw what it did in 2022 and propelling you toward a 9-win season in 2023. We'd love to see that again for this group in 2025.
And they get the bye week to try to get healthy and work on some things before they go up to that big game in Ames. And it's going to be cold in November in Ames, Iowa. So hopefully they're ready for that. One other storyline with the football team right now that came out this week, Lance Leipold's wife Kelly announced that she's battling breast cancer right now, and mentioning that we're presented by the University of Kansas Health Systems. I've been working very closely with the KU Cancer Center for going on 13 years now. It's an incredible organization, and they're doing great work. And Lance Leipold and his wife are raising money and matching money to help make sure that women get mammograms that maybe don't have access. And obviously, first of all, I think our thoughts and prayers go to their whole family, Lance Leipold and Kelly, but also what an impressive thing they're doing to try to take something that's a really difficult thing they're battling and turn it into a positive for other people who might be able to get that early detection, and save their life.
It's incredible. I mean, obviously, some of the worst words you can hear are those words, "you have cancer." And in that moment, immediately your focus shifts to how are we going to beat this thing? What's it going to take? But not far after that train of thought, the Leipolds were thinking, how can we use this challenge, this adversity, coupled with our platform at KU to help other people in the fight? And that, to me, is rare. That's set apart. I was talking to Kenny Logan about a week or so ago when he came back for a home game about his special relationship with Lance, how much they stay in contact on a weekly basis, even now when he's up in Edmonton playing in the CFL. And he was telling me how rare and set apart it is that Lance cares that much and engages that much on a personal level with his players. Equally rare when you see life throw you a curveball like that, and the Leipold's response after figuring out their own game plan is, okay, well, now how do we pay it forward and help other people in the fight? That is so unique. That is so special, and really speaks to the character of those two. So yes, thoughts and prayers certainly with Kelly and Lance and their whole family. And obviously we try to do a lot through the Jayhawk Network with our KU Cancer Fighter dedication. She's going to be a special one on our next football game, I promise you that. But to have that type of mindset, to try to inspire others in the fight and really stress the importance of early detection as being the paramount key, really speaks to the great heart and incredible mindset that Kelly and Lance certainly have.
If you seek it out on social media as well, you'll be able to see the link where you can donate and contribute, and the Leipold family is going to contribute a matching amount, and that shows right there the commitment that they have. So really make sure you check that out. Absolutely.
I mean, can you think of another example you've seen in recent years of something like that? That's why I say, man, what a special couple, and we're blessed that this is the leader of our KU football program, and his wife's on the sidelines every day at practice. All the players know her as Miss Kelly, and she's there, boots on the ground, feet in the circle every single day. And so all of our thoughts are with a gal that cares an awful lot about this place, this program, and the state of Kansas in general.
Yeah, and we're very lucky at the University of Kansas to have a place like the KU Cancer Center that has just made so much progress over the last 20 years. So obviously we hope that everything goes well with Kelly Leipold and that you can contribute and help out in the cause on that front. Now, as I mentioned, to pivot here, Brian, before you went to Tucson, you were in Chapel Hill, and obviously that's an iconic venue. Second half didn't go the way that the Jayhawks would have wanted, but I kind of look back to last season at this time, and the Jayhawks were racking up marquee victories that did not really translate to what was going to be, the way the team would look by the time it all really matters when the games start to get bigger and bigger into March. And I guess so the flip side being, you suffer a game like this, but you got a young team that you hope this is more the type of thing where we're looking at the end of it in the opposite vein as last year, where it's like, hey, look where the team was back in November and look where they are now when the games really start to take significance on.
I completely agree. And sometimes when you eke out some of these games in November where you probably didn't play as well as you're going to need to play later in the year, but you found a way to find the victory. Sure, we love to learn lessons in small victories as opposed to double-digit defeats, but sometimes it can create a false sense of who you are, whereas not that we like to lose by 13, but I'll quote Coach Self directly. I just left his office to come down and talk to you. He said, you know what? That Carolina tape, that was really good teaching tape. And had we lost by 5, I might not have been able to get all of their attention like losing by 13 and having a real knot on your head leaves you. And so he said this is a group that's hungry to learn and get better. He said he's got great kids. He wants them to play a little nastier sometimes, a little more edge to them. But when you have a performance like that, where Carolina literally scored twice as many points in the second half as they did the first, 58 compared to 29, that was a buzzsaw. It's disappointing, yeah, but it gets your attention in ways that eking out close victories, but maybe not getting exposed to fully get the attention isn't going to afford you. So I'll take a November loss in Chapel Hill if it leads to playing around further in March or maybe even into a Monday night in April. So let's hope that's the case. And this is the type of galvanizing, lesson-learning type loss that really helps these guys become all that they can be.
Well, we've already seen also the hype around Darryn Peterson is justified, right? Like, I think we've already seen enough to share, okay, that's what everybody sees in him. That's why he's been talked about. But you get a chance to spend time around these guys that most of us don't. So what have you learned about Darryn Peterson? Maybe the guy off the court, maybe just the guy that we don't get to see when he's out there playing basketball?
Excellent question. And I'm excited to give the answer because everything I've seen of Darryn, he's a superstar person in addition to a superstar player. Obviously, the tape speaks for itself. You got guys like Bill Simmons nationally comparing him to Kobe Bryant. Doug Gottlieb was our first opponent head coach, and he had the same reference. So you know the player comparisons, the projectability, all that. Could he be the number one pick in the draft? We're about to find out over the next few months. But I see a guy on a daily basis that's walking through the locker room, dapping everybody up, giving as much accolade and attention to a Wilder Evers or a Will Thengvall, your invited walk-ons at the end of the bench, as he does Flory Bidunga, who in the two-man game between those two might be, the second biggest star on this team. And to me, that just shows a great teammate. Obviously, he's come in with a great work ethic already, and Bill Self and his staff are going to only coach the absolute best out of him that's in there. But that takes great parenting and coming from a tremendous family. And so I was talking with his mama earlier today, and I said, that's kind of different when you got a guy that everybody's just slotting into the number one or number two pick come June, and he spends as much time being a good teammate with the 13th or 14th guy at the end of the roster as the second or third at the top of it. So I love what I've seen so far of him, not just on the floor, but as a person. And, he's got that alpha killer instinct, too. He may be a fun guy to be around as a teammate, but I wouldn't want to be against him in 2-minute crunch time type mode when he's got the ball in his hands and he's ready to take over. That's something we've not exactly had the last couple of seasons, as the offensive initiator, whether it's the point guard or just the guy that wants the ball at game point. We haven't had that alpha that can score at all three levels, that can take you over, that says, climb on my back and let me take you to the next round. We've got it this year, and I can't wait to see just how far that can carry Kansas come March.
Of course, we also saw if he gets in foul trouble or, he has cramps or anything like that, some other guys are going to need to step up. And there's some other young guys. Are you seeing some signs from some of these other players that because you don't want to put it all on Peterson, right? So who are some of the other guys and maybe you're seeing some signs of or, potential progress that can help lighten that load on him a little bit in big moments?
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, Melvin Council, when Darryn missed the Fort Hays State game, stepped up and led us in scoring and was an offensive initiator, driving it downhill, living up to those Tyshawn Taylor comparisons that everybody likes to throw at him. And how cool is it, by the way, that Tyshawn's kind of befriended him a little bit, not just coming to practices, but he had him out to the Sports Radio 810 Kansas Nation studio to be on his podcast and hang out, some big brother time, if you will. And I just think he's really embracing that comparison and that connection to Tyshawn, which is neat. But I'm excited about Cole Rosario. I think his first day on campus, folks were already talking about, is he cut from a similar cloth to Christian Brown, just based on his frame, his basketball pedigree, great outside shooter. You haven't quite seen it materialize yet in the games, but we see it every day in practice. And once he settles in a little bit more, sky's the limit for this young man. And I think he plays with a turned-up nature, flying in from the wing to out-jump you and fight for an offensive rebound that's going to steal extra possessions for Kansas and be that type of guy that the Hall of Fame head coach loves to have because of the hustle and the want to. That's one thing about this team. I was talking to Coach about this earlier today, and he said, as we try to find our identity early in this season, what are we right now and what could be the case in a few months? Well, we're not a team that's going to wear you out physically with a bunch of, 7 feet tall, 260-pound guys that are going to lean on you. We're not a team necessarily that's going to bury you from three just yet. Now, we've got 4 or 5 guys outside of Darryn that we hope become regular contributors from the perimeter, but right now we aren't that yet. So what can we be? Can we be a team that plays turned up, that brings the energy and the tenacity and the hustle, that gets 70% of the 50-50 balls, that is heating you up to the point that you're uncomfortable and you're coughing it up? Can we bring that type of style with great athleticism, dynamic explosiveness with some of these athletes he brought in this year? I think that's closer to what the identity could ultimately be, because we don't have a multitude of back to the basket, back you down and score at the rim type guys. We got some springy, bouncy, long guys in the post, but we've got great athleticism up and down the roster. And I think a turned up, frenetic version of that really gets after you, plays defense with your hair on fire. That's the type of team that maybe we could lean into becoming.
Well, that's the type of team that's fun to watch when you're at Allen Fieldhouse too.
Yeah.
The energy of the building can really contribute to that. You got to take that on the road as well, but certainly that can be a fun style of basketball for the fans to watch, because I think they feel like they play a part. They're connected to the game in that regard.
Totally. And what's the biggest calling card of 23 years of Bill Self basketball? Toughness and making the other team play bad. It feels like so many of his first 22 seasons were always top 10 nationally in field goal percentage defense. And you're not necessarily always going to have a great shooting night, but you can certainly take your defensive intensity on the road with you no matter where you're playing or whether shots are falling on the offensive end or not. If you want it bad enough and you bring that type of intensity and tenacity every single night, that's the one constant that will travel, and I think that's what he wants from his team.
Okay, so basketball and football keep you busy right now, but you got to keep up with all the other stuff too. And right now there's a lot going on. So transition over to the women's basketball team, because they've got some young star power and they got a big game coming up against Missouri in Kansas City this weekend.
Man, isn't it amazing to see the recruiting that Coach Snyder and his staff have done here in recent seasons, and the fact that we've got a couple of McDonald's All-Americans now. I remember when Nate and I used to do the games together, we called some great players now. In our era, which was, 8 or 9 years together, but you did it for 14?
Yep, 14,
14 years. Crystal Kemp, Angel Goodrich, Carolyn Davis. We had some great ones. And I remember what a big deal it was.
Danielle McCray.
Of course, Danielle McCray, one of the all-time greats.
Yep.
I remember what a big deal it was when we were able to sign Lauren Irvin, because, hey, McDonald's All-American, coming to Kansas, all that. Well, think about it. The last 3 years, they've had a couple McDonald's All-Americans, one of which is the highest-rated signee at Kansas since ESPNW started doing women's basketball recruiting rankings. The number 19 player in the country. She's going to be featured on a future episode, Jalea Davis, and she's coming off a 28-point game her last time out. She makes the Big 12 Conference's starting 5 of the week, which is a new way to spotlight more than just 1 or 2 players for Player of the Week honors. And some are saying, and I don't want to put too much hyperbole out there, but some are saying, is this a player that, has as much of an individual ceiling to her as going all the way back to Lynette Woodard? Not saying she is Lynette Woodard, but we've had Lynn Pride and so many great ones that you just chronicled. Could she have the most impactful Kansas career since a player like that? Maybe it's still in a different zip code, but still, that's pretty impressive. And that is not mentioning as quickly as we should, perhaps, that Samaya Nichols was an honorable mention All-American a year ago, twice already first-team All-Big 12. And let me tell you, when you talk about student athletes representing you the right way, Samaya is incredible, the ambassador she is. She gives back of her NIL and revenue share to local charities. She's done that each of the last 2 summers with the Round Ball Classic, being amongst the most generous paddle raisers because she believes in the causes. And so to have couple of KC area kids that want to play for the name on the front of the jersey, and they're proud to be at Kansas, and they love what Coach Brandon's building here, but then also to represent us so well in the community as they both do, particularly Samaya, because I've had a chance to get to know her the last couple of years, and I'm just now getting to know Jalea a little bit more, but we could not have a better ambassador as the face of our women's basketball program than Samaya Nichols, because she's as good as any player on the floor every time she laces them up. but she handles herself with as much grace and class and integrity and character off the floor as any player we could have. So she's a 10 out of 10, checks every box. And if that doesn't give you excitement to go out and support these ladies and be pumped about what the season in front of us could hold, then I don't know what does, because you got an exciting, dynamic team that has some really good people on it. And, plus it's Mizzou on Saturday at 6.
Yeah.
Let's get out there. Let's win the border showdown, baby.
Absolutely. And Samaya was critical in recruiting Jalea to Kansas as well. So seeing kids that are from the local area in Kansas City featuring for the team and playing back in Kansas City, let's get there and make sure we fill up the building for that one, because that's a big border showdown coming up on Saturday. The women's soccer team has a big matchup coming up. They get to host a tournament game as a 3 seed coming up this week as well. And Coach Nate's done an incredible job already, and they're cruising right now and hopefully ready to have a big postseason run as well.
Yeah, you talk about good people that are excelling on the field. I mean, Nate Lee, one of my favorite personalities amongst our KU coaches, and another example in now 6 head coaching hires where Travis Goff absolutely knocks it out of the park. What has he done in his first 2 seasons? Well, back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances for just the 3rd time in school history, first time since 2018-2019. They darn near won the Big 12 championship in 2 consecutive years, making it to the tournament title game and winning it last year, and then coming up just shy in the title game on Saturday night. But you're talking about a program that just continues to surpass expectations and operate ahead of schedule. And with what they're doing in recruiting and the great facilities we have with Rock Chalk Park, the soccer hotbed that Kansas City has become, and nobody can speak to that better than you can, Nate, this is becoming a destination that collegiate soccer players want to come and be a part of and play at. And so kudos to Nate Lee and his entire staff. They do such a great job, and I can't wait to watch them versus California Baptist on Friday night at 6 o'clock. Hopefully folks will pack Rock Chalk Park. They've had some great home matches this season, and yet some of their biggest wins have been away from home. But they scheduled ambitiously in the non-con, and you look at it, their only 5 losses on the season were all to top 20 RPI teams. So they're battle-tested. They've had some big wins, a couple of draws that were huge as well. And it's a team with, I think, more confidence on making a run this year because they got a taste of it last year, and they know what to expect. And so for some of the players that were a part of that, they all spoke to the media yesterday and said, we just feel so much more settled this time around, knowing what's in front of us, and we can't wait to get after it in our home stadium on Friday night.
And I'll tell you what, we were talking about Bill Self's basketball team and the identity of trying to play a little turned up, heat the opponent up, put them under pressure, see how they respond to it. That's the way Nate Lee's team plays. I mean, they press the entire field. It is high energy, it is high paced, and it's kind of like, let's see how the other team deals with it. And if you're a fan, if you want to go watch it, it's a really entertaining brand of soccer to play because it makes the match wide open. And you got to have players that are fit and committed to be able to do it. So Friday at Rock Chalk Park, check out Nate Lee's team, the soccer team, 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. And you mentioned those new hires by Travis Goff as well. How about the volleyball squad? I mean, from one legendary coach to a new one, and 13th in the country right now, and they're just coming off a sweep against Cincinnati.
Yeah, Matt Ulmer's done a tremendous job, and what huge shoes to fill when you're talking about a volleyball Hall of Famer, not just Kansas, but nationally in Ray Bouchard, and what he did to put this program on the map, take him to a Final Four about a decade ago, have the type of on-court success that you can get a new Horse Family Volleyball Arena built, and then he passes the baton to a guy that has come in, and they're not missing a beat. You know, you talk about their top 15 national ranking, their place within the Big 12 Conference. They've had an outstanding year at this point and expect to be a high seed again on the selection show here in just a matter of time. So Ulmer has done everything to make the transition be as successful as possible. And on top of that, again, an easy guy to cheer for. Heck, he even sang the national anthem when they played at Allen Fieldhouse versus K-State a couple of weeks back. So such a talented guy, and I think the ladies love playing for him. So he's handled that transition as well as you possibly could, and we're fired up to see all these sports clicking. You look at it, 5 for 5 on the coaching hires, and I think Coach Derrick is going to prove that it's 6 for 6. But Lindsay Kuhl has been crushing it in women's golf. We call her the coolest coach in the country. The regional success they've had, some of the national attention some of the individual golfers have gotten has been as good as this program has ever seen it. Obviously, Dan Fitzgerald had the NCAA Tournament back for KU baseball, which hadn't happened in 11 years, and that was great to see as they took part in the Fayetteville Regional. And a lot of folks, feel like that's a program that's just a rising star within the Big 12 and nationally in college baseball. And then we obviously all know about what Lance Leipold has done with a couple of bowl games already, and hopefully a third, by the end of this month. So we're fired up. Travis Goff has certainly, restored the culture here within the department with the way he leads so selflessly. It's a we over me type thing. But then the success on the field that the fans and the donors want to see, he's delivered on that and then some, with each and every one of these leaders being exactly the type of leader we want from an integrity standpoint and what it means to be a Jayhawk, but also, first and foremost, winning with great regularity. And 5 for 5, soon to be 6 for 6. They have all done that. In most cases, very much ahead of schedule. Honestly, in every case, ahead of schedule. So it speaks to the home run hires that Travis Goff has delivered.
Exciting times at the University of Kansas. Brian Hanni, our guest today on the Jayhawker Podcast. So thanks to Brian. Busy guy right now, traveling all over the place. Check out all the big activities coming up this weekend for Kansas athletics. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Jayhawker Podcast.